Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Study Various Majors in the United States series. Today, we'll focus on study business and economics in the United States. My name is Hani, and I am the Education USA advisor in the Fulbright Commission in Prague. And today, I have a special guest, Katie, who is an English teaching assistant in Havlíčkův Brod. Hello, Katie. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Hani. It's great to see you.
So Katie is going to walk us through business and economics in the United States.
Yeah, so hi, everyone. I'm Katie. I'm super happy to be here talking about business and economics. And yeah, we're just going to hop right into it. So to begin with, here's kind of a roadmap of what we're going to go over today. So we're going to talk about what studying business and economics looks like. Then we're going to talk about how to prepare yourself in high school to study this, and also when you're considering colleges, what to consider. Then we're going to talk about my favorite thing, which is Cornell University and the Dyson Business School. And then after, we're going to talk a little bit about what your job opportunities are. So what is business? Business, I think, is a pretty broad category when you say I'm studying business. I think it prepares you really well for a lot of different career fields. But in general, it's really the study of using resources effectively. And those resources can be financial, they can be people, or they can be other forms of capital. And so this is kind of a general, description of it, but it really does utilize quantitative and qualitative skills on a daily basis. And within business, even though it's a really general major, you're able to find different niches, which we'll touch on in just a little bit. So if you choose this major F, these I think are really great qualities of someone who may be interested in the business field. Those include if you really like numbers, if you enjoy working with people, you're a good problem solver, you're pretty curious, you like to learn, you're resilient in the presence of challenges, or you're uncertain what major to study. So those are all different qualities, and you don't have to have them all. But I think that if you have a few of those, business is probably, a really great starting point for you. So how does business and economics differ? When I was looking at schools to study business or economics at, I was kind of considering both options, and it really depended on if I wanted a specifically undergraduate business program or if I wanted to go to a more liberal arts college where it was a more diversified field of study. I ultimately chose business, which I'll touch on in a little bit, the reasons why, but business is a little more practical, and you're really focusing on how to utilize people from a management perspective. And economics, I think, is more theory-based. It's a little bit more broad in terms of kind of like you're looking at more macro level things, and you can look at micro level things too, depending on your major, but it's a lot of economics focus. You're focused on different industries. So those are kind of the two differences. So before college, in preparation for studying business or economics, I think that the advice I have here is pretty general to if you want to get into college anywhere, but I do think that there are specifics to studying business. So I think being a really well-rounded person is the most important thing. Certainly, if you're really talented in one discipline, pursuing that is a great thing. But if you're a little uncertain, I think just generally developing your skills and your experiences prepares you pretty well. Things specific to business is I think that engaging in entrepreneurship or business-related activities is really important. And I think that this can come in a variety of forms. For me, in high school, I worked at an ice cream stand, and it was a really small local business, but I got exposure to the basic functions of sales, revenue, profit, expenses, and just like what it looks like to work at a business. So I think that's a great opportunity. Also, I'd become comfortable speaking and expressing yourself with other people. I think business is kind of all about like developing relationships, and being able to do so effectively is really important. For me, I had two things that were really niche to my business application. One was I created a school to community garden, which wasn't a business in the normal sense of the word, and that there was profit and revenue or expenses, but it was because we filtered in money through different people to then buy garden beds, and it operated as a business. We had people who came and took care of the garden beds. We had sponsors. So it was similar to that. And I understood how to talk to people and kind of sell an idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The second thing that I did was I owned a chicken and egg business in high school. So
That's really cool.
Yeah, I had chickens from when I was 10 until I was 16. And I woke up every morning and I took care of them. But more specifically, I had to sell the idea of people buying local eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that experience was really great in just exposure to like me recognizing that business was a discipline I was interested in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's about background before college.
This is really important because when you apply to a university in the Czech Republic, they usually look at your, grades from high school, or if you pass your maturita, and if you pass the entrance exams to the university. But this is something that's really important to kind of point out about the US, that they're going to look at your extracurricular activities, at your essay, if you have something interesting to say, that it's not only about your success at high school, but you should show a lot more. So even owning a chicken business can be super important to those who are looking at your application. So guys who are watching, please make sure that you do something else except for school, that you have some hobbies and something to talk about in your application.
Definitely. Yeah, I think hobbies are huge, and being committed to like different interests is huge. So, okay, next slide is colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So these are colleges. Actually, let me back up. When I'm talking now, I'm referring specifically to studying business in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are a lot of incredible universities that are probably really well known for their economics departments. And I think the business department is a little bit different because oftentimes it's like a specific undergraduate program that's like only for business. Whereas sometimes if you're studying econ, you can also study other things while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So for business, these are not necessarily liberal arts universities, generally speaking, where your degree is very broad.
Mm-hmm.
These are specifically business undergraduate programs, and University of Pennsylvania, Wharton is probably like generally speaking the best one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of go down from there, different universities that are really incredible in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're looking at colleges, looking at the rank is important for jobs post-college, but looking at the programs and the type of people there is more important in my perspective, because that's how you're going to be nourished as a student and prepared most effectively for your future
Mm-hmm.
in business or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to study. I was in between econ and business.
Mm-hmm.
Applied to 6 schools, which I'll go over in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And of this list, I only applied to Dyson, Cornell University's Dyson.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of different reasons why I applied to Dyson. I think I'll also go into this in more detail. Location was a big reason,
Mm-hmm.
but also culture of the school was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure that I wanted just a sole business program. So when I was looking at the other universities, none really stood out to me beyond like being an incredible university. They didn't fit a lot of my other criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied only to Cornell University Dyson from a business perspective on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Other schools I applied to included Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I applied to Harvard. I applied to Yale. I applied to University of Rochester. Mm-hmm. And I applied to University of St. Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied to these schools for a variety of reasons. And all of this list, 4 of them were liberal arts programs. That was Harvard, Yale, University of Rochester, University of St. Lawrence. And Georgetown wasn't necessarily a sole business program, but it was the McDonough Business School, I think was the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was focused on international relations connected to business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, my final 2 choices, I realized that I did want to study purely business in undergrad. That was like my interest.
Mm-hmm.
Came down to these 2.
Mm-hmm.
And So I'm going to go over the reasons that I ultimately chose Cornell over Georgetown, but the pros of Georgetown too.
It's really cool because you're such a sweet girl, and these two are so like there's a bear, and then there's a pit bull or whatever, and they're so
Yeah, they're like the meanest looking ones.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Those are just the mascots, I know, but still, it's funny.
I promise the people at Cornell are amazing, and I'm sure at Georgetown are too. For anyone watching, they're not representative of either symbol.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next? Okay, Georgetown University. So these are some photos. I think Georgetown is just like such a beautiful campus. It's located in Washington, D.C., which is an ideal location. It's about 8 hours from my hometown of upstate New York. And it's a little bit of a smaller school than Cornell. I don't know its exact population, but a bit smaller. And yeah, I really like the program. So the program is focused on international relations, and along with being interested in business and economics, I considered some things with like political science or studying international relations. I was really uncertain in high school for a long time. And so I thought that the program at Georgetown was really unique because in the heart of like international diplomacy, and I could incorporate business, and I was like all over the map. And I thought that sounded really cool. And it still does to me. Also, I really liked Georgetown because it had a really strong sports culture, which I thought would contribute to like overall engagement at the school. And then also another big thing why I loved Georgetown was that it incorporated service through its learning. It was a big thing I talked about in the application. And for me, I think sometimes like business can be so focused on profit and a little more cutthroat. Having some like good oriented into the curriculum was a really huge thing for me as I was applying. So Georgetown I thought was incredible, but I ended up choosing Cornell, and I'm so happy with my choice. I'm the biggest Cornell proponent, and if anybody on this call wants to talk to me about Cornell, I'm so happy to chat for hours about it. So Cornell and the Dyson School. I'm probably going to just focus, whatever I say is really focused on the Dyson School because I wasn't in another school, so I don't want to speak to it in case whatever I say is inaccurate. But the Dyson School, I think, really prides itself on a collaborative learning culture. So when I applied and was admitted, I was one of 150 undergrads within my business program, which it's one of the smallest schools for business. It's grown since then. I don't know what the incoming freshman classes are now. But I was also kind of towards the beginning of the program. And I really liked that because I graduated with 36 students in high school from a public school. So I was used to a small environment. I knew I wanted a big school, which Cornell is 15,000 undergrad. But I also needed a community. And I thought Dyson would give that for me. And it did, for sure. Also, Dyson is really known for its excellent after graduation job placements. And for me, getting a job after graduation was one of the most important things because I didn't want to pay so much money just to not have a job. And so its alumni network is, I want to say, unmatched. I mean, I'm sure there are other incredible alumni networks, but Cornell is an excellent one. I had a family friend who was actually my basketball coach in high school who was well connected within the school, and he recommended that I look at the school because originally I wasn't even considering Cornell because it was 30 minutes away from my hometown. But he said, just go to the school. We'll talk to some professors. We can hook you up with some students and see what you think of it. And I ended up visiting it and I fell in love. So that's also to say, don't judge a book by its cover with any school. You got to see it to like really, truly love it.
Yeah, guys, I wish you had the opportunity to fly to the US as international students and go and visit the campuses because the vibe is so important. But I also understand that this is not an option for everyone. So there are some 360-degree tours that, you can search for them online. I also have virtual reality goggles in the Education USA Advising Center. and I can put you like on the campus with the goggles, and you can kind of walk through it. But if you get a chance to go to the US in the summer or anytime, make sure you visit those campuses. Make sure you schedule an appointment with staff, with teachers, with alumni, and have chat. That's something you can also talk about in your essay, and it is really a great experience. So, yeah.
Totally. I echo everything Connie said. And also if you can talk to current students, that's really important. So those were some things. The other thing that really pulled me in was the Grand Challenges program. This is related to service. Basically, the Dyson School has a program where freshmen through your senior year, you're working on this like overarching program. It's still being developed, but sophomore year, you're put into a writing course that's tailored to a specific, I think it's a UN Sustainable Development Goal, I think. But mine was on poverty and hunger in developing countries. And so this kind of sets the scene for like, why is business relevant in those situations? Then you move into like kind of assessing localized issues. And then you move into working on a project when you're a senior to address some sort of challenge. So for me, I worked ultimately with a very small startup company in South Africa where I was supposed to visit. I didn't get the chance to because of COVID, but long story short, I think that it's a very impactful component of Dyson. I also was a Cornell Tradition Fellow, which is something I was given at admittance, and that was an appealing factor for me related to Cornell because it incorporates service and work with your learning. And then also I had in-state tuition, so the financial factors were really big for me as well.
For sure. So Katie, one more thing, because alumni network is again not something we are very familiar with. So can you kind of talk more about the job placement results that can be entitled with the alumni network that's so amazing at Cornell?
Yeah, absolutely. So alumni networks are huge because ultimately when you're looking for a job, and specifically if you're in business, I think it's like a lot merit-based, but a lot of it is also who you know and how well you connect with them, because that's kind of like what business is. And Cornell alumni are incredibly loyal to Cornell students. So you have really great placements of people in different careers. And so when it comes specifically to the business degree, a lot of kids end up going into investment banking in New York City. Some people go into consulting. That's what I'm going to be doing. And having people at the firms that you're interested in working at is huge in order to like for you to learn about the firm, for you to be connected with people at the firm, and ultimately for them to take a look at your application and see if you'd be a good fit for the firm. So having alumni network is not only helpful for getting the jobs, but I think it's also really helpful for learning about jobs because they're the ones who can speak to it accurately. You can only do so much research online.
Sure. And how did it work? Like the connection between you and the alumni, how does it work?
Yeah, so you can be connected through the career services at Dyson. They have a really great group of people who are specifically tailored towards career development for you within the Dyson School, which is also kind of a unique component of Dyson. Some other schools have it, but not all. And then also when you're involved in clubs on campuses, they connect you with their specific alumni of the club from Cornell. And that's also a great way.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next is the major. So this is the title of the major at Dyson, Applied Economics and Management. That's what every kid graduates with, that as their degree. And these are your core requirements for getting this degree. You need to take macro, micro, and then you can read the rest of them. They're pretty basic classes that you would take some variation of, probably no matter where you went if you're studying business. And they're supposed to expose you to overall fields within the general field of applied economics and management. So finance, kids who study finance, who really enjoy this, generally end up going into investment banking or some sort of very analytical job, sales and trading. Someone who may study strategy is more likely going to go to consulting or a more like strategically business operations focused job. Marketing, you're probably going to go try to sell stuff. and accounting and accountants.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the different concentrations.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see some of the titles overlap with the classes, and that's because those are intro classes to these concentrations. And when I say concentrations, I mean that when you graduate with a degree in applied economics and management, you have a concentration in one of these. That means that you just take more classes within one of these departments. And for me, the one I did was data analytics.
Okay, all right.
And I started with strategy.
Uh-huh.
And then I switched to finance.
Uh-huh.
And then I switched to data analytics.
Oh, that's the beauty of the American system.
Yeah.
You can change your mind, and it's okay.
Totally. I'm a very indecisive person. I also considered international trade and development.
That's what I guessed you for, I have to say.
But by the time I needed to make a decision and I had classes under my belt and I was in crunch time, I had enough under data analytics. I was like, I gotta focus, get her done. And I was really happy with it. It's classes related to coding, but they're like business classes related to coding. So they're useful for people who aren't necessarily going to go work at Amazon or Facebook or those Google. You're doing things to manage big data within businessy settings.
Okay. All right.
Which I can go into more detail. I think I might have it on a slide.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so I did business analytics. What is this? So this is the official definition from Cornell. But just to talk about it generally, basically, I think data, I kind of chose this major. I chose this concentration for a lot of different reasons. But the more technical reason why I did select it was because I think data is a big thing right now when it comes to skill sets that look good when you're applying to jobs and that are useful at jobs. And being able to manage a lot of data is becoming an even more important skill set. And I knew that I wanted to go into consulting, and consulting data is the core of it because you're making decisions based on numbers. And so being able to synthesize the number, basically gather, organize, and then synthesize the numbers is a really important skill. And I gained those through Dyson. So these are some of the classes I took: database management, analytical modeling, organizational analytics. They don't mean a lot unless you're in the class, but some of them are coding based, some of them are organizational based, of how to just look at data. And a lot of the jobs kids end up pursuing out of this are data scientists, consulting, or software engineers. Kind of just depends on where you land in life and what you're interested in from an industry perspective. So those are some jobs. Okay, student life. Should I cover anything more about Cornell and the major?
I thought that it looked a little scary. I have to say, I always imagine business being something else, but I understand that your kind of focus and concentration was this, but I guess I never really connected business to coding in Python. This is something that I hear for the first time, but I am sure that, this is how you described it. It's super amazing to have this skill set for the future, and I am sure that students are probably more skilled in coding and stuff, but I always kind of imagine, I don't know what I imagined.
I think I will say that when I went to Cornell and I would tell people I'm a business major, people always thought it was the easiest major.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
I'll give it to them that I think business may be less demanding from, depending on the classes that you're taking, a little less demanding than, say, a bio or a chem or a physics class.
Okay.
I do think that it is less demanding. That being said, I think that when other kids ended up taking the classes that we took on a day-to-day basis, they're like, oh my gosh, this is actually really hard. And I think the reason for that is because business is so driven by relationships with people and communication and presentation that sure, you're doing these hard you are doing modeling, and that is really that is challenging, and that takes a lot of effort. But what's more important is what you end up sharing with your class or sharing with your professor, because that's what like a job is like in business. And so if you're able to effectively do that, then you're going to do okay in the class. But if you're someone who that may be a struggle for you, it's going to be a lot harder.
Okay. I do like that, and you mentioned it, that you were so undecisive, and it seems to me that you gain a lot of various skills, throughout studying business. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to end up being software engineer, but there's so much more for you ready, because again, you said that you develop your communication skills. You're going to be great at coding. You're going to be great at working with a lot of data. So I see this as a beautiful stepping point to like other careers, other, grad schools and so forth, because you're going to be so well-rounded in various areas that it's great,
Yeah, I do think business kids end up leaving very well-rounded. And also another thing I kind of forgot to mention was at Cornell, the curriculum, it varies at every school, but the way it works at Cornell is Dyson falls under the category, because Cornell has so many colleges. Dyson is its own college, but it's within another college.
Okay.
So it's within the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And because it's under that umbrella, anybody in Dyson also has to take a few science classes, a few humanities classes, a diversity focused classes. You have to take, it's not a full liberal arts curriculum, but it is like, you do have to take other disciplines. And I think that's awesome, because you're not just doing business all the time. You're getting the other skill sets. And a lot of kids end up double majoring. So you do like finance and strategy or marketing and analytics. But I didn't choose to double major because I ended up having a minor in law and society. So I feel like I got my like hard numbers in business. I like really developed those hard skills. And then in law and society, I also was able to develop the more like thoughtful thinking skills that are required in that discipline.
That's really cool. Thank you for covering that. And I'm sure that if students who are watching us have any questions, they'll reach out later, and I'm happy to forward their questions, and you can get in touch and praise Cornell and Dyson all you want.
Yeah. So that's the major. Okay. Cornell life. I'll go over this kind of quickly, but Cornell's in upstate New York, so it's very snowy. And it's a big campus, so get your snow boots on, your jacket, because you're going to be walking a lot in the snow. But we did have a few snow days, which was a pro.
Okay, you got to explain that. We do not have snow days, so.
Oh, that's sad. Snow days are the best. They're really common in high school and less common in college. But basically, it's when it snows so much that like people can't get to work. Professors can't get to the school, and it's unsafe for students to be traveling outside because of like temperature or ice or snowfall. And so you just get like classes canceled. It became less common after COVID, unfortunately, because people were just like, let's do online classes instead.
Yeah.
But I still had them. I still had a snow day junior year and senior year of college.
So. That's really cool, because I was really surprised when I studied in the US. It was throughout my master's studies, and I've never had a snow day in my life. Like, even though it snows in the Czech Republic, you just go to school, and I like, there was no school bus that day when the first snow came down. And so I walked to school because I was like, okay, maybe, it just doesn't work. And I walked up to the school, and like nobody was there. And then they were like, it's a snow day. So a police, like a campus police, took me down back to my room, and they were like, yeah, there is no school. I'm like, so am I supposed to like sign up for some additional class or something? And they're like, no, it's just school is canceled. I was like, what is this? Some happy holiday, and it happened so many times. I was really like, that was very surprising to me. Yeah.
Wait, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love snow days. I'm glad you got to experience them.
Yeah.
Also Cornell or Ithaca, the area that Cornell's in, is known for being like very beautiful and has a lot of gorges. So that's a pro. This is me and Alma. She's my best friend from college. She's my freshman year roommate, and we actually met like 2 summers before college and decided kind of last minute to room together. I wasn't super tight with her before college, but she's calling me later tonight to plan a trip to come visit me over spring break. So we're still besties. Like, I don't know, it's now been like 7 years later.
Wow.
So from the day we met. Housing at Cornell is a little complicated. I won't get into it unless you guys reach out and want to chat about it. But every freshman's guaranteed housing, and I think sophomores are now guaranteed housing on campus. Otherwise, you live off campus. They have beautiful.
You lived on campus all 4 years? Did you live on campus?
No, I only lived on campus freshman year, and then sophomore year I was part of Greek life, so I joined a sorority, lived in my sorority house, and then junior and senior year I lived in what's called College Town in a house with my friends.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, which was crazy to live in a house and you're like 19, but it was fun.
Good.
There's new dining halls. I didn't experience these, so lucky ducks y'all will be if you end up going to Cornell. I had dinner there one time my senior year and it was amazing. Cornell definitely has the best slope there ever was at any college, for sure. And it's so fun because you get to sit on it and watch the sunsets and go sledding down it in the winter. It's just a pleasant time. You also have Cayuga Lake here, which you can see, which is beautiful, and people go canoeing and rafting and boating and swimming. And then a real plus of Cornell is our hockey team is amazing. So have a little video. I don't think it's that long.
Oh, look at everybody cheering. Wow.
Yeah. So Cornellians get really into our hockey games. It's like the one sport that we're all really, really proud of. And we don't have football. Well, sorry, we do have football and they're decent, but our hockey team is like what we're really proud of.
Okay. All right. So if there are any student athletes in the ice hockey field, they should really consider Cornell.
Definitely. And I actually had a friend at Cornell who's from the Czech Republic.
Oh, cool.
Who plays on the ice hockey team.
Okay.
So, yeah. I think his transition seemed like it went okay. But I wasn't like best friends with him. I just like kind of knew him through people. But anyways, I probably could put them in touch if they're curious.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so next is okay. So some organizations. Earlier, I kind of mentioned that some of the alumni networks comes through organizations. And I think that clubs at Cornell are really important. A lot of them are pretty competitive. You have to go through a resume round. So you have to submit a resume. And then you go through multiple rounds of interviews. They're not like generally you're not like just because you sign up, you're in for a lot of, there are select clubs that are, but the more professionally driven ones aren't. So I put on here some different clubs that exist. You've got Cornell Consulting, which is a consulting club, Cornell Real Estate Club, which is for anybody interested in real estate, Cornell Finance Club, Cornell Consulting Group, another consulting group, Mutual Investment Club at Cornell, I think, Investing Club, Cornell Investment Banking Club, Cornell Venture Capital Club, Dyson Undergraduate. Okay. And then there's business fraternities too, which is what I chose to try. When I was a sophomore, I joined a business fraternity and I loved my business fraternity. I thought that it was like one of the best things that I was a part of on campus because these people are all mostly like my best friends from college. They're like an important group for me. But more than that, I learned a lot about recruiting for jobs, things to know, resume development, interview prep, the basics that just like help you do well in interviews and get a job.
Okay.
All came from a business fraternity. And that has a great alumni network. That's another important thing. And then Dyson Undergraduate Council was another thing I was involved in, which is like a leadership group for Dyson. And it's not business oriented, but it's a way to be really involved in the undergraduate business program. So that's that.
So do you do that after school? All these clubs and organizations?
Yeah. So most kids are involved in clubs, and basically like once the school day ends, like once you're done with your last class, you have club meetings. And those can range in time frame. I definitely had some where like if we were recruiting new members, meetings could go until like 2 a.m. It's what you put in is what you get out. So you don't have to do that. But a lot of the pre-professional organizations are more intensive, but I think the benefits are incredible, and you really are able to dive into a career field and have exposure to things that you wouldn't get in the classroom.
And did you also do like or were you a part of a fun club? Because this is like business oriented. Like, did you do something really that wasn't so like business major oriented and serious and, money?
Yeah. No, you have to enjoy yourself too, for sure. So I was on the club women's basketball team at Cornell, and that was so fun. We also had very late practices though. I think senior year they were from like 9 to 11 p.m.
Oh, wow.
But it's okay because if you love the sport, you'll do it. And that was so fun. I loved my team. And then I was also a Cornell Tradition Fellow. And I touched on that earlier, but basically you're part of a fellowship or fellow group that focuses on doing service in the community and also being really heavily involved in work on campus. So I had a job throughout my time at Cornell because I needed the money, and it was a requirement. And I think also working is a really great way to balance your time if you can manage it. And the service part was really wonderful because I was able to get involved with the Cornell community and also the larger Ithaca community through things such as like, I worked at the YMCA, or you work at there was like, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a recycling place. We did a lot of park cleanups. Some people worked with elderly folks. Like there's just such a range of things that you can do. And service is something really core to me and my person, and being able to be with people who also value that was fun for me.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Jobs. So I went to jobs. These are general jobs that a lot of people end up pursuing after a business degree. So yeah, if you go into finance, a lot of people end up becoming financial analysts. They'll go into sales and trading, private equity, investment banking. This is like the classic like job post business degree kind of. It's like what you see in the movies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wall Street, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Wall Street, I see Leonardo DiCaprio and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't take that route, but most of my friends, unfortunately, are having some pretty tough times right now. They're all in finance.
Okay.
But consulting. This is what I chose to pursue in terms of my internships while I was in college, which I didn't really talk about. A lot of times when you go to a business program or economics, you have internships in the summer, and those are to prepare you with real-time career experience for post-grad. So some jobs you can have if you want to go into consulting are like being a data analyst, strategy and operations analyst, human capital worker, engagement manager. These are like, I would say like kind of like cliche terms. They're just like different jobs that you all can look up and explore in more detail if consulting field interests you. It's really like a problem solving based field. You're given some like general problem and you have to like figure out how to solve it. Technology, a lot of kids end up going technology, whether that is as a coder or like as a project manager within the technology space. So these are some different jobs. Consumer packaged goods is also big because we're an agricultural based school. So some people end up going into like more food driven or like other like consumer goods. As managers or strategists, you can be placed in a lot of different ways. And then other people end up pursuing agribusiness. And there's like jobs within vineyards, food supply companies. There's so many different jobs within this field. So if you're interested in agribusiness, Cornell's a great program for that. But I also think that agribusiness in general is a really popular field post business degree, because I mean, I'm even looking at like a bag of chips here, and you need a business side of that.
Mm-hmm. And so did you have a chance throughout your studies to kind of touch on every single job or opportunity to see like whether this is a place for you, like through the internships that you would go into like agribusiness and try if that's something that would, you know, bring you joy? Or was it really that you decided that you want to go into consulting and then your internships were in consulting companies?
The first one.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if it's the former or the latter. I think it's the former. The yeah. My internships, when I was a freshman, I did a career trek through Cornell, and I went and looked at finance and real estate jobs. It was just like a weekend. My internship after summer was actually supposed to be after my freshman year of college, was supposed to be in Norway on a fish farm.
A COVID, right?
COVID. So I ended up working at a fish farm in a town nearby my house because I was interested in agribusiness, and I did operations strategy work for them. And I think when I say it, it like sounds like it was some fancy internship where you're doing like high level work. It's not that fancy. You're basically given different things to do that are at your level of ability, and you work on them. Second sophomore year summer, I thought I wanted to go into wealth management because I realized agribusiness wasn't for me. So I did an internship at an asset and wealth management firm in Chicago. I realized that wasn't necessarily my calling. And so then I recruited for consulting, and I did consulting last summer. And that's what I think is kind of the area that I'd like to at least try in a little more detail.
Oh, but that's great that you have experience with all of them and you could actually really try it and say like, no, this is not for me, and yes, this is for me. So it's great that you have the opportunity.
Totally. I think exposure to the jobs is huge. Like it goes classroom learning, club learning, and job learning. And those are all really important things.
Awesome.
So after graduation, some people get a job and they work forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And I wish those people a lot of good luck. I really hope I'm not that person. But I think that if you love your job, then this is a great option for you. Some people get a job and then they go to business school because they realize they either want to pivot into a different field within business. So say you start off in consulting, but you want to go into finance, you'll go to business school. Or if you want to change locations, going to business school is also a great option. Or some people start their own business. And ideally, I think that's something that I would love to do at some point, but we'll see how life goes. But yeah, and you can also do so many other things. I think if you have a business degree too, or economics degree as well. I also think that if you go into econ, if you study econ, your job placements are a little bit different, because I think that there's also a lot of like government economics work that is also really popular. So, yeah.
So I have a question. If you graduated with a business major, what would you gain by studying a graduate school on business? Like if you didn't change any majors, so what do you think would, gain?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think I've been asked that a lot just in general. I don't really know because I didn't go to business school, but what I've heard from people is that it's a great way to meet people in other industries if you're interested in not necessarily doing consulting for the rest of your life or doing banking for the rest of your life. And then also, I think going to business school, you gain knowledge in a more niche field within business. So definitely like knowledge is gained. And then I think the third benefit is you can get paid more, and you may have a better opportunity for higher level placements and jobs.
Because of the 2 years of grad school. Okay.
Oh, but
great. Thank you, Katie.
yeah. And then, oh yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm friendly. This is a photo of me in case you ever forget. Yeah, I love to talk about Cornell, about studying, about jobs, however I can help.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. So Katie shared her email address. Please, as you can see, she's a lovely lady. You can reach out to her with your questions. If you would like anything else, regarding your school selection, you can definitely discuss it with Katie as well. She went through it. Or you can send an email to my email address to advisor@fulbright.cz. You can also reach out to me via social media at EducationUSA Czech. And I am happy to either forward your questions to Katie or answer them myself. So Katie, thank you so much for introducing us to business or econ major altogether, for showing your school, for praising Cornell and Dyson. It seemed lovely. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Katie, thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks so much, Ani.